Hi, welcome. So in this video, we are going to look at how to create dashboards. Remember, we said dashboards is one of the most important deliverable we expect from data analysts. And when you are able to create these dashboards, you really have a lot of value that you bring on the table. So we are going to create responsive dashboards. We could create them in a way that is more inflexible, but we are going to show you how to create responsive dashboards. And another thing to notice, it's good to have a knowledge of pivot tables to be able to do these responsive dashboards. So if you haven't looked at the pivot table video, just go, it's the video before this one. We have two videos about on pivot table before this one. So just go back and check so that you can be able to understand the pivot table concept. Then from there now you can be able to use that to build a dashboard because it builds upon the pivot table knowledge. So it's very interesting to have this skill, and I'm really excited to show you how to use or build dashboards in Excel. So let's just go straight and let's go do that. So here, this is the data set we used in our pivot tables, the last videos. So you can just always go and check to be able to be in line with what we are about to do, because we need that pivot table knowledge to be able to do good dashboards. So here's the raw data, and I'll just create a quick pivot table here. So I'll just go to insert pivot table, and then I'll just go to a new worksheet, click on OK as that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is let me pull this way, a double click, and then I'll name this pivot table. Then the next thing to do is to create a dashboard sheet. So I'll just call this dashboard. And then now let's see. So if I zoom in, so this is where you could put your dashboards, like you create your charts here, which I'll show you. So, and here's the raw data. And then let's go to this pivot table. So let me just zoom in so you can see. Now, let's just say a simple thing. We wanted to look at the gender. Here is the gender. And then we want to say, want to analyze the staff salary, to see, okay, this is female, this is male. And then we want, this is the total. So we want to see the total here. Now, we could just maybe first thing, copy this out. I'll just show you, copy this out, because the pivot table is very flexible. Remember, if you have not seen the last videos, you can always check them out. Then we paste special here. So we can either paste like this, paste special values, or you go through the paste special and then you paste the values so that there is no link. We've seen this in the previous videos. So now we have, like, let's just say this becomes our new data set. So we could even call this maybe sex here. And then we call this maybe salary, for example, just like that, salary. So this becomes a new table for you. Let's say the table, just to make it look a bit different. These are the headers and or whatever. I'll just show you that. So now we could go ahead and create a chart, say insert, it's recommended chart. And then we get a chart like this. Let me just click on this one. Click on that one, and then what I'll do is I'll just take off the grand total. Remember, we looked at charts in the previous video, so you can always go back and check. So I'll just take it out like that, and then we have something like this. I'll not bother to do lots of design or customize this chart because we have seen that in the previous video. I just want to show you how to get a dashboard done. So this means that I could take this chart, for example, get this chart to a new destination, so that we can have done a copy paste, a control C, and then control V. So this can be like the first thing on my dashboard. So this is a chart, and then now what will happen is if, for example, the data changes, that is like from the source here, the data changes from the source, then that one will not really be responsive, because if, for example, this data was out, for example, Then our pivot table gets refreshed. Pivot here, go to refresh. So let's say this blank is, I'll just take it out here because there's the blank now in the table. That's why you have that blank. So if you click on OK, you'll see now that I'll still need to, right now, this is now changed. So I'll still need to come here, take this one, copy it again, maybe copy, paste, paste, just paste special. Let me copy this one again, copy, go to here, I'll just paste the values. You see, I'll need to do it before the chart changes. So it becomes a bit tedious because it's not like responsive, it's not linked. So you're not able to have an automatic change when the data changes here. It just, the pivot table just maybe needs to just be refreshed, and then it should automatically affect the chart. So doing it like this, you could do it like this as well, and drop like that. Now let me show you now how to create the responsive dashboard without going through this copy paste and make something which is like an end-to-end. So now I'll just delete this and we start all over again. So let me just delete this, go here again to the dashboard, and then I'll just delete this one. Okay, so now what we would do, let me just do it. So I'm going to just delete this, even though I'll put it back. And then we know that we want a dashboard that we want to put our charts here at the end and share. So here I'll go back to the raw data. Same thing. Let me just delete these lines. Not necessary, but I just want to delete them. You could leave them. So I'm going to insert again a pivot table. And then we know that, okay, it's on table 9. Create a new worksheet again. Now, what I'll do is I'll just call this pivot 1. Pivot 1. Because I'm going to do several pivot tables. That's the first thing. To be able to create a responsive dashboard, you need several pivot tables. So I'll just increase this here so that you can see. Then I'll go back again and I'm going to take gender here. Go again to salary. Put the values here. This is what we have. Now I'm going to create this chart. So go to insert, then you go to chart. So when I click on OK here, for example, now I have this chart. So I'm going to, first thing, when you see here, let me just name this to, yeah, total salary, so that yeah, total salary. I'll just name it. You can always take time to name them based on your audience and what they are requesting from you. But the most important thing here is this is actually a pivot chart. So if you see here, you could still filter out female, maybe here, click OK, and then you get just female. Or you could still filter out maybe a male here, and then you get just male. But we don't want that in our dashboard. So what we want is to be able to make it to become like a normal chart without these options. So because it's going to be affecting our data here. So what we are going to do is we are going to just go here and click here, go to gender, and come here. If you click here, you would see these field buttons. If you see here, they say show report, filter, field buttons, show legend field, things like that. So I'll just go to hide all. So you see we don't have that again here. And then now it looks like a normal chart that we know, which will just be dependent on this data that we have here. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I'll take it now to the dashboard, and then I'm going to paste there. So if we paste now, we have it there. So you could as well just click here, and then because you remember when you click any object, you're able to see its design. All these things appear. Then you go to move chart, and then you decide where you want the chart to be. So you want it to be on dashboard or wherever. Let's just say we want it to be on dashboard, and then we click on OK. It moves the chart to dashboard. So let me just take off this one, and then I'll put it here. So we are now here. Okay. So now we have this first chart here. So what's the next thing is to create another pivot table. That's the main thing you need to know here. So go again to the raw data, go here, click on insert, go to pivot table again, take a new worksheet, then click on OK. So here now we are just going to call this pivot 2, and then I'll just put it here so that it's in order. Now pivot 2, we want to see the data maybe in terms of average. Now we've seen the total, now we want the average. So that's like the storytelling, your dashboard, that's what you want to present. So we'll go here, we'll take the gender, then we take salary, and then remember the pivot table, like we saw in the last videos, you change this to average. So you can always go back and look at the video. And now I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see clearly what's going on. And remember, you could just go here and still go to maybe here, get it like that. Now we can also create the chart. So go to recommended chart still, and then we could still take a chart like this, click on OK. Now again, it has this. So remember, we take off the buttons, just click here for it to go away. Then now we can call this now average sales, for example. So average sales. And then when we click here now, we can now go to move chart. So we can move the chart to, again, where? To the dashboard here. So you click on OK, and then you click on OK here. So that's the second chart. Let me just close this here, close this one. So we have this now here, for example, here like this. So we could still decide to say, okay, this chart, we go to, let's just click, you remember you click here, you have design, you have format. So if you go to design, for example, you have your different designs here. So we could decide that maybe this chart is going to be like this, or like that, or like that, or like this. Or we could just simply go again and say maybe change chart type. It's instead like this, for example, or like this, or like that, or like this. So generally, based on the visualization principle that we gave you, you could decide that, okay, I want it to be a pie. I want to show the average salaries as part of the average as part of the whole. So it could still be what you want to communicate, or it could be in the form of a bar chart like that. So again, let's take that, let's click. So you decide that, so okay, these are the total sales, total salary. Okay, here it's supposed to be total salary. Yes, total salary. And then here, average salary. But I just want you to get the principle right of how to get the responsive dashboard. So this might be your first tool up here, and then below you might want to talk about maybe like the length of time, or maybe per married, because now we're talking about gender. So we can still go back here again, go to the pivot table again. That's the most important thing. Click on insert pivot, create another pivot table again, call this pivot 3. Then again, remember, we can move this. We saw that in an earlier video. So move this to where the dash here. You don't create a copy. So that's pivot 3. And then the pivot 3 might be, okay, we want to see marital status, and then we want to mix it up with gender before seeing the salary, for example. So that could be another way of seeing it. So, and then we might say we want to see the average. So we want to see averagely what is the composition here. So again, let's click, let me zoom in so that you can see. Then we go again here, and then we might select this and do the same kind of formatting that we did. And then again, we create a chart, insert, go to recommended chart, and then we can say, okay, we want this. So it shows more of for the male, the married have more domination here. You see the blue is higher, or 50 something percent. So the married generally have averagely higher salaries. For the female, the single generally have higher salaries. So we can click on OK. And then this is again another chart. Let me just reduce again so we see. I'll close this, and then again we click here, this hide field buttons, so we don't want that. And then now we can just reduce this just to see. So again, you move the chart to the dashboard here, and then we click on OK. So here we could say, after we've looked at total salary, I'll just reduce this again. After we've looked at total salary, we are interested in looking at now in terms of some combination, like what is the distribution with single, married, and that. And then we could also go back here again to the data, insert again, pivot table, okay. Again, then we might say, okay, we still want to see the gender, and then maybe the marital status again, and then we want the salary again, and then maybe we want the sum, or it could be just about any other table. I just want to show you, or it could still be that you just want to get say for example the dates. So let's just say the dates, so many dates, and you see here. So we could just say, okay, we want, because if you've seen something, they've given us years and quotas here. So we could say, okay, we want to get the quotas, quarter 3, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and then we want to see what happened there. So I'll just click on that, click on OK, and then again you can still go there and insert your chart. Then you go to this one, and then you might decide to have something like maybe let's see, we can get, yeah, this one can still be okay. So we have it like that, because quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and then we go on to OK. So again, you take this out, remove the fill button list, then you have total, because that's the total, or again it could be interesting to see the average. Oh, I did remove the fill instead. So it could be interesting to see the average. So we could go to value settings, and then we go to average, and then we click on OK. So we say average salary per quarter. So that's also something you can see. So this total, you might not need it, so it goes off, and then we have that there. So let's move it to the other side again, move chart to the dashboard, and then we go down here to the dashboard. Okay, so generally there are lots of theories about how to create the dashboard. We are still going to go into more detail when we do the Power BI, but then I want to show you how to create responsive dashboards here. Most of the times it's good to do the aggregations up here, like the total, maybe total revenue, total cost, total profit, and then down here you're trying to do some couple of combinations. And if you want a third level below here, you can now maybe list names. Maybe you want to see the names of the staff under here, more detailed. So most of it is the high level, then maybe some interesting in between, not really too high level, but some interesting insights here. And then now down here, is more of the details. So, but then let's just go on and let me show you how to go about the dashboard. So now we have this, and how do we make it responsive compared to what we had earlier? So now let's just see here. So one of the things to do is to, let's just say you click here, we click here, then we go to the table chart. So it is saying, okay, insert maybe slicers. So you can see we've gone to insert slicers, and then we can have slicers like maybe even years or quarters or recruitment date. So let me just say if I take recruitment date like one of the slicers, and then we decide to take maybe, let's say gender or marital status like one of the slicers, just to show you an example. And then if we click on OK here, we have these slicers here which appear, and you see that here we have the dates. So we could decide to say let's get this, like this. Maybe I'll just decide that, okay, let this be this number of columns, maybe like that, and then we pull it. So that's one example. And then we have maybe marital status here. So now, okay, now it starts getting interesting. So if, for example, we click on January here, you see it changes and we see the situation of the salaries in January. We could click on maybe August. You see that in August, the female and the male, they had almost same total salary. So this is becoming interesting because now we are able to, the management or your audience is able to filter and select and be able to see, maybe I want to see this and this and this. So I want to see between this period what happened from June, July, August, September. And then I also want to see for the single only, what happened for the single only, and maybe for the married only, what happened for the married only. So it's becoming interesting now. Okay, the next thing is that it only changes for this one. It doesn't change for the other ones. So how do we make it in such a way that when I put maybe January, it's going to change here, change here, change here, change everywhere, and be now a dashboard that is very, very responsive. I just need to change this, touch this, select here, and everything is responsive. So if I click here again and I go to this design, or go to here, there's this thing called filter connections. So I'm going to click on this filter connections, and you can see that here we have this marital status, recruitment date, and if you see here, this is you see here. Okay, now let's click here. So if, for example, I click here and I go to filter connections, you see that it's not having this ticked. So I have to tick this, and then I press OK. Then now I go again here. I go again to filter connection. You see it's not ticked. I have to tick here, and then I press OK. You see already. And then I go here. I go to this filter connection again. I tick here, and then I tick here, and then I have OK. So now these two slicers are affecting, that they react to, these pivot tables are controlled by these two slicers just by this filter connection here. Because initially when I created the slicers, it was just this one that was being able to control them. But now what happens when I click on February or March, you see it changes. So if, for example, I undo this to single and married, let's click on September, for example, click on August, for example, click on July, you see. So if I click on maybe this example, you see I get a different reaction. So this now is becoming interesting because we are able to use this now to select, and the management just receives the data and is able to filter and see which of the months were really very, very, like there's this month I see the married had a higher share, and then I can go to check April. I see that, okay, it went down. The married had a lower share of the average salary. So this really generates some insight and is able to, this is really one of the things that you use to really add value and make your impact felt by having a dashboard like this, that they don't need to say send me each report flexibly, each inflexible report of just the report per married, just the report per male, just the report per female, but like send me all the data and I'm able to filter it out myself. So one is the other interesting thing now is that when you go now to the raw data, if I go here and then I take the add some figures here. Let me just say I change this to, let me just add them down here. So here like this, I'm just going to copy this, copy, and then I paste here. And then I'm going to just increase these figures for the married, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'll just increase that figure to that amount. Now what I need to do is just go to here. So if, for example, I come to these figures, you see that with my pivot table, if I refresh, okay, the male is here. So if I check now the source of the data, I go down. Remember the table, if I check the source of the data, let me go back here, pivot table, change data source, come down here. It has all of this included, and then I click on OK. Now, coming to the second pivot table, we go here, we click on change source data, and then we check again. We have all these figures here, and then we click on OK. So if you come to the dashboard, you would see that, let me just put this on. So you see that lots of things have changed here, and okay, see that lots of things have changed here because now the female is so low because of this the impact of that high data here which we put here. So this data that was put here, let's say it was back to 2000, back to 2000. So now if you come here, you go back to your pivot, you see the male has been refreshed here now because of that old figure. So if I go here and I go back to refresh, it goes back down. I go to the pivot here, I go back to refresh, it goes back down. I go here, I go to refresh, and then now to the dashboard, everything changes. So you're able to see that I just need to add the data, whatever I want here, just refresh my pivot tables without necessarily copying and pasting like the first case. And then you have a responsive dashboard like this. So you can just go maybe to page layout, go to, let me just add something here. So I just remove the formula bar, and then we remove the grid lines, we remove this, we make it look a bit cool. Then we go to page layout, go to themes, and maybe look for a theme like this, maybe this one. And then here we go, we have our dashboard, which is something you can share easily, and then you're having a responsive dashboard now. Very, very interesting. So I hope you're able to learn how to create dashboards through this video, which is really, really very, very interesting skill to have, so that you can be able to share your insight, have a real-time view of what is happening to the key performance indicators. Your management can be able to click on the dates or the months or the timelines or whatever it wants to see without calling you all the time to send static reports of the north, reports of the south, reports for female, reports for male. You just like send the data, set the key visualizations that you want to see, and then everything goes on smoothly. So next video will build more on some projects, but I hope you've learned a lot, and this is a very important skill. Rewatch the video, try to practice, try to play with it. Thank you. See you next video. Wish you good data luck.